In this lecture of business environment and ethical practices, we'll be talking about business ethics, the changing environment, and stakeholder management. Let's start with stakeholder management first. Stakeholder management basically is a way of understanding the effects of environment forces and groups on specific issues which affects stakeholders and their welfare. So the basic idea is to keep a check on all the controllable and uncontrollable factors which might affect the well-being or the interest of stakeholders. The basic idea behind this particular approach is to ensure that stakeholders' interests are safeguarded properly because the company, any organization runs with the contribution of stakeholders only. So their interest must be taken care of. This approach is a way of understanding the effects of environment forces and groups on specific issues that like we talked about. This approach attempts to enable individuals and groups to articulate collaborative win-win strategies based on first identifying and prioritizing issues, threats or opportunities, second to mapping who the stakeholders are, then identifying their stakes, interests and power sources, showing who the members of coalition are or may become, showing what each stakeholder's ethics are or should be, and developing collaborative strategies and dialogue from a higher ground perspective to move plans and interaction to the desired closure for all the parties. So the baseline is identify who all are the stakeholders, how their conduct should be, what are their stakes in the organization. And it might also happen that at any given point of time, the company is not able to satisfy certain stakeholders because all the parties tend to look at their own benefit only. So this might also happen, but then the management has to ensure that stakeholders are not offensive or they are not going against the company because it may harm the company in long run. So the idea is to identify what their interests are, to ensure that whatever their interests are, they must be properly taken care of. And everything that a company does should be done keeping in mind the stakeholders. Before we go towards the business ethics, first of all, let us understand morals and ethics. Most of the times, these two terms are used interchangeably, but they are not the same. Let's have a look at the slight difference which these two terms have. Morals are the beliefs of the individual or group as to what is right or wrong, while ethics are the guiding principles which help the individual or group to decide what is good or what is bad. Morals are basically general principles set by group, and ethics basically involve response to a specific situation. Let's take an example here. For suppose our law also even allows certain in certain conditions certain person can kill somebody else, like for the armed forces it is not illegal. Somebody who has done something, who has harmed the another person in self defense, that can be understood. So the basic idea is morally it is not right to hit anyone, but if you are doing it in self defense then ethically it is right. So this is the basic difference. Morals, the word morals comes from mores, which means custom, like what the society accepts. While on the other hand, ethics come from the word ethikos, which means character. Morals are social and cultural norms, while ethics are individual or legal and professional norms on which an individual or an organization works. Morals basically looks into principles of right and wrong. Ethics go a bit further and it looks at the right and wrong conduct. Morals may differ from society to society and culture to culture, while ethics are generally uniform. So it might happen something which is acceptable in the Western culture is not acceptable here in India. So there we see the morals, but ethics are generally uniform. Suppose being honest to the organization you are working for. This is ethics, and it is applied everywhere. Last but not the least, morals are expressed in form of general rules and statements, and ethics are a bit abstract in nature. Now let's have a look at what business ethics are. It is the study and examination of moral and social responsibility in relation to business practices and decision making in business. Business is business cannot run without the society. It cannot run by isolating itself from the culture, from the society. So it is basically a part of it only. Here the fight is to take a good note of moral and social responsibilities and ensure that business is not about making money, earning profits, or earning higher market share only. Rather, the social and responsibility and moral responsibility should also be taken care of. Business ethics and the changing environment. Gradually, as the culture has evolved, so has the business ethics. Business and government operate in changing technological, legal, economic, social, and political environments with competing stakeholders and power claims. This fact must always be noticed well in advance that the power claim or the fight to have the largest share in the market or to be at the top is always there. Stakeholders are individuals, companies, groups, and nations that cause and respond to external issues, opportunities, and threats. And the rate of change and uncertainty in which stakeholders and society must make and manage business and issue of moral decisions have accelerated due to the impact of internet and information technologies. World is not the same now as it used to be like 20 years or 30 years back. In fact, the changes are so drastic and so impactful that the entire picture has changed. Globalization. Now we call the world a global village. And since the connectivity, transportation, movement of resources is so quick and efficient now, so the things have changed. Deregulations, governments all over the world have been trying to deregulate their markets in order to attract more and more private entities or foreign investors into their industries or into their economy. So that must be noted. Then mergers, undoubtedly, the rate of change and uncertainty has a lot to do with these mergers and the joint ventures and the combined efforts that the organizations are putting in certain domains. And wars, although no direct war has happened recently, but a lot of cold wars or tensions have always been seen between certain countries. For example, India versus China or versus Pakistan, US versus China, or maybe versus Russia. And then in European part, we have seen so many tussles and also in Middle East. So that has impacted the rate of change and uncertainty in the business. Let's have a look at how environmental forces and stakeholders are connected and interrelated. Local, national, and international environments are increasingly moving towards and into a global system of dynamically interrelated interactions among local, national, and regional politics, economies, regulations, technologies, demographics, and international law. All the environmental forces which are given in the lower part of the slide, like economic, technological, political, etc., have changed over the period of time. If something happens today in, say, Germany, the impact might be seen in the Indian stock market. Everything is so well connected, well interwoven, that we have to always look at that the business is not confined to its business unit or its local surroundings only, or even national surroundings only. Rather, the entire globe. Anything happens in one part of the world, it might affect what is happening in the other part. So these environmental forces are affecting stakeholders with a higher degree, in some cases for good and in some cases for bad. Thank you.